The most haunting endings are the ones without an ending. Picture this. You're at the final scene of a movie. The music swells, the tension peaks, and just before the big reveal, the screen goes black. No closure, no explanation. You're left, sitting there, heart racing, mind spinning, dying to know how it ends. That is the exact feeling you want them to live with. Don't block them, don't beg, don't explain. Just do this one thing: disappear, without drama, without warning, without a trace, because the strongest move you will ever make is to make no move at all. Let me take you deeper into this. See, people don't fear the loud goodbye. They fear the unfinished sentence, the unanswered message, the silence that keeps echoing long after you've walked away. When you argue, they get closure. When you cry, they feel validated. But when you vanish, their mind turns against them. Every memory becomes a question. Every moment becomes a maybe. You were once predictable. Now, you're a mystery. And nothing haunts a person more than not knowing what you feel, where you are, or what you'll do next. Imagine becoming the one thing they can't explain. The moment you stop reacting, you become unforgettable. And here's the truth. The person who stays silent holds the most power, because they aren't begging for understanding. They already understand. So if you're ready to take that power back, not through force, but through presence, not through noise, but through absence, then this video is for you. If you find value in what you're hearing, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to support the channel. Your support helps us share more of this Stoic wisdom with the world. Let's dive in. Part 1. Silence hits harder than words. You think silence means surrender, that doing nothing is weakness, that letting go without a fight makes you the one who lost. But let me tell you something that most people never learn. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. When you stay quiet, you're not giving up. You're giving them the mirror, because silence doesn't just say, "I'm done." It screams, "You are no longer worth my energy." When you argue, when you chase, when you try to explain your worth to someone who already devalued it, you give them power. You let them see your wounds, and they feed on that. But when you pull back, truly pull back, and they reach out expecting the usual reaction, only to be met with nothing, that's when the fear begins. You want to know why? Because people are addicted to control, to predictability, to knowing that they can push you and you'll flinch. But when you stop flinching, when their push gets met with stillness, their illusion of control shatters. They don't ask, "Are you okay?" They ask, "Wait, did I lose them?" Suddenly you're no longer the person they used to manipulate. You're a mystery, a silence they can't decode, a mirror to their guilt. And here's the punchline. They don't regret losing people who scream. They regret losing the ones who say nothing, because silence has a weight, a depth, a gravity that words never carry. Silence doesn't give them anything to push against. No resistance, no reaction, no battle to win. Just a void they can't fill. And that void, it echoes. It grows. It becomes unbearable. They thought your voice was your power, but they were wrong. Your absence is louder. And here's the twist. While they're sitting in that silence, you're not waiting. You're not watching. You're not even thinking about them anymore. You're healing. You're rising. You're learning to love the sound of your own peace. So if you've ever been pushed to your limit, and you chose to walk away quietly instead of exploding loudly, comment below, "My silence was the loudest goodbye." Let the world hear it. Let them wonder why you never screamed. Because some of the strongest voices are never heard at all. Part 2. Don't block, don't beg, just disappear. They expect anger, they expect tears, they expect the door to be slammed in their face so they can say, "See, I was right." They were dramatic, emotional, weak. But what happens when there's no slammed door? No screaming? No dramatic exit? Just silence, just space, just the overwhelming absence of you. Blocking them gives them the ending they were hoping for. A final fight, a label, a reason to move on. But disappearing? Walking out of their life like smoke in the wind? That gives them nothing to hold on to. And guess what? People don't panic when they get closure. They panic when the book ends mid-sentence. They'll stare at their phone, scroll through old photos, reread your last text. They'll ask themselves questions they can't answer. Did I go too far? Why aren't they reacting? Are they seeing someone else? Their mind will play tricks on them. They'll convince themselves they were in control, until they realize control doesn't exist anymore. Because you're not blocked. You're just gone. Not in anger, not in heartbreak, but in detachment. And detachment? That scares them more than hate ever could. You didn't block them. You didn't beg. You didn't even explain. You just left. And that's what drives them crazy. Not knowing where they stand, not knowing if they still matter, not knowing if they were ever as important to you as they believed. They'll try to trigger you. They'll try to bait you. They'll post things to get your attention. But your silence doesn't play those games. It doesn't give in. It doesn't reply. It just exists. Like a ghost they can't touch. A memory they can't resolve, because people don't chase what they understand. They chase what they can't make sense of. You want them to feel your absence? Don't announce it. Become it. Let them wander the hallway of questions alone. Let them replay every interaction like a detective analyzing a crime scene. Let their imagination do the damage. And if you've ever had to walk away without giving them the final word they expected, comment below. No closure, no contact, no coming back. Because silence is not avoidance, it's a decision, a declaration, a quiet revolution. You don't block, you don't beg. You become unreachable, and in that disappearance, you become unforgettable. Part 3. Make them watch you thrive. Don't block them. Let them watch. Let them sit on the outside of your world and witness your glow-up. Not the fake, filtered one made to spark jealousy, but the real one made of peace, purpose, and presence. Let them see you smile again, not out of revenge, but because you remembered who you were before they made you forget. You're not performing. You're evolving. You're not proving them wrong. You're proving you were right to leave. And that's the power of not blocking them. You become the life they no longer have access to. You don't have to flaunt your wins. Just let them catch glimpses. A quiet post, a simple photo, a glow in your eyes they haven't seen before, and it will haunt them because they expected your life to collapse without them. They thought they'd be the high point in your story, but instead, you're just getting started. They'll keep checking your page, zooming into your smile, reading your captions like they're code, looking for signs that you still care, and they'll find nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even nostalgia, just growth, because you're not their audience anymore. You're not their punching bag. You're not their fallback plan. They lost the privilege of access, but now they have front row seats to your transformation. And the best part? They can't participate. They can only watch. They thought they would be the lesson you never forgot. But now, they're the background noise in a story that keeps moving forward without them. They watch your glow, hoping it's temporary. But every day you shine brighter. Every day you post less about pain and more about purpose. Every day your silence becomes more intimidating. And what haunts them most? They can see you, but they can't reach you. They can watch you, but they can't influence you. You became what they never thought possible, untouchable. So if you've ever turned your healing into a quiet showcase of power, comment below. I let them watch the version of me they never believed I could become. Because your success isn't loud, it's legendary. Part 4. Flip the power dynamic. Let's be honest. They thought they had you, wrapped around their finger, predictable, emotional, safe. They thought you'd always answer, always explain, always react. They thought you were the constant, and they were the variable, but then you did the one thing they never saw coming. You broke the pattern. You stopped showing up, stopped replying, stopped playing the game they rigged, and suddenly, the roles reversed. Now they're the ones refreshing your profile. Now they're the ones staring at a screen, waiting. Now they're the ones wondering what went wrong. You see, people don't fear losing attention. They fear losing control. When you become unpredictable, you become powerful, because control is built on expectation. And when you don't act the way they expect, their grip slips. They start second-guessing. They start doubting themselves. They wonder if they push too hard. They wonder if someone else has your attention. They wonder if the person they used to toy with has been replaced by someone who finally knows their worth. And here's what most people don't realize. They don't come back because they love you. They come back because they hate losing control over you. They want to know they still matter, that they can still get a reaction, that they still live in your head, rent-free. But this time, you change the locks, so don't give it back. Don't reply right away. Don't validate their reach. Let them sit in the same uncertainty they once made you live in. Make them feel the tension they created. Make them live in the silence they once weaponized, because you flipped the script, and now they're reading a story they don't understand. They thought they were the author, but now, they're just a character who got written out, and you're writing a new plot. With boundaries, with peace, with power. If you've ever taken your power back by doing the unexpected, comment below. I flipped the dynamic. I became the one they couldn't read. Because the greatest plot twist is becoming the person they no longer know how to manipulate. If you've made it this far, chances are something in these words is speaking directly to your soul. If this video is giving you value, if it's helping you reclaim your power, see your worth and feel understood, then take a moment to give back. Click that subscribe button now. Your support helps us continue sharing this Stoic wisdom, creating deeper, more powerful content that speaks to who you're becoming. We're building a movement, a community of people who rise in silence, who heal in private, who glow without the need to be seen. So if that sounds like you, join us. Thank you for being here. Part 5. Don't react, become unreachable. You want to check their page. You want to reply. You want to prove you're unaffected. But let me tell you a secret. The moment you react, you lose the frame. Because reaction is currency. And every time you give it away, you're investing in someone who stopped valuing you a long time ago. They ghosted you. They disrespected you. They made you feel small. Then why are you still performing for them? Why are you still posting for them? Why are you still hoping they'll notice you moved on? Real strength isn't loud. It's not the clapback. It's not the witty response. It's not the Instagram glow-up designed to spark jealousy. Real strength is absence. Real strength is detachment. Not to make them wonder, but because you've stopped wondering about them. You don't owe them clarity. You owe yourself peace. When you go quiet, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're unbothered, unreachable, unaffected. Because silence isn't empty. It's a boundary. And boundaries are where your healing begins. And here's what happens when you stop reacting. They spiral. They start asking questions. They start checking your status. They start noticing your silence more than they ever noticed your presence. Because silence is mystery. And mystery is magnetic. They can't read you anymore. They can't anticipate you. They can't control you. That drives them insane, because people crave predictability. And you stopped being predictable the moment you stopped responding, and don't get it twisted. Choosing not to respond is not avoidance, it's power. It's saying, I don't belong in that chaos anymore. So stop reacting, stop reaching, stop explaining, start reclaiming, start rising. Start becoming the person who doesn't need to be understood to be respected, because the day you become unreachable is the day they finally understand they never had you. They only had access, and that access is now revoked. Comment below if you've ever learned the power of going quiet. My silence is no longer empty. It's full of power. Let them wonder. Let them reach into the void and find nothing. Let their confusion become the closure they gave themselves. Part 6. Don't give them closure. Let time haunt them. They walked away without explanation. They left you mid-sentence. They ghosted you and moved on like you were disposable. And now you feel that tug. That urge to explain yourself, to tell them how they hurt you, to write the long message. But ask yourself this: did they ever give you closure? No. They gave you confusion. They gave you silence. They gave you the burden of trying to make sense of it all. So why hand them the piece you never got? Why wrap the ending for them with a pretty bow? Here's the truth. They don't deserve your explanation, because some stories aren't meant to be finished. Some people aren't meant to understand. Closure is not a conversation. It's a choice. It's a private moment where you say, I accept what I didn't get. I accept that they'll never see it, but I still walk away whole. Let time do what words can't. Let regret be their echo. Let the unanswered questions become the story they can't forget. Because when you give them closure, you give them comfort. You allow them to move on with ease. You ease the consequences of their own actions. But when you vanish, when they go to revisit the moment they lost you and find no ending, that is what sticks with them. They'll start rewriting history in their heads. They'll wonder what they missed. They'll imagine conversations that never happened. They'll search for closure in people who can't give it. And one day, in the middle of a laugh, in the middle of a night, in the arms of someone new, they'll feel it. That gut punch of realization, not because of what you said, but because of what you never said. And by then, you'll be light years ahead. So don't chase closure. Don't give them the ending they crave. Let them live with the weight of their own unfinished story. Let the mystery be their punishment. Let time be their teacher. Let silence be their sentence. Comment below if you've ever walked away without looking back. I gave them no closure, and that was the lesson. Because time doesn't just heal, it also reveals. And when it does, they'll realize they never broke you. They only lost access to something they thought would always be there. And this time, they won't get a second chance to understand what they ignored the first time. Part 7. Turn your healing into power. They expected to see the collapse. They expected public pain. They expected breakdowns dressed as social media captions. But instead, they got silence. And not just the kind of silence that comes from hurting. The kind that comes from rebuilding. Because when you choose healing over chaos, silence over drama, and growth over proving a point, you become dangerous. Dangerous to their ego, to their assumptions, to the story they told themselves about you. You stopped performing. You stopped explaining. You stopped reacting, and you started evolving. You focused on your fitness, your craft, your peace, your boundaries. You started sleeping better, eating cleaner, thinking clearer. You started spending time with people who uplifted you. You stopped chasing people who confused you. You took the energy you once poured into trying to make them understand, and you poured it into yourself. And the shift? It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It was quietly undeniable. No sad quotes, no rebound photos, no attention-seeking energy. Just the slow, disciplined, spiritual glow of someone finally choosing themselves. And that glow, they feel it, even from a distance. Even if they never say a word, they'll scroll through your page. They'll see your eyes are clearer, your smile more authentic, and for the first time, they'll realize they weren't your peace. They were your trigger. They weren't your home. They were your lesson. They were the storm. But you became the calm after the storm. You became the sanctuary they could never find inside themselves. You became the version of you that no longer flinches, no longer explains, no longer seeks validation. And that version of you, they don't even know how to approach anymore. Comment below if you're turning your pain into power. I stopped chasing. I started healing. Because when your healing is real, you don't need to post about it. You become it. And that version of you, they never saw it coming. Part 8. Rewrite the story without them. They thought they were the plot, the reason the story existed, the center of your world. But the truth? They were just a chapter, a catalyst, a footnote. And now, the story is still being written, but without them. Because here's what happens when you finally take the pen back. You stop romanticizing the past. You stop replaying the same 3 scenes. You stop clinging to potential. You stop asking why, and start deciding what's next. You start rewriting. You start reframing. You start rebuilding. You're not stuck in their memory anymore. You're living in your future. You stopped letting them be the main character in a story you authored. You stopped rereading a chapter where they walked away. They were supposed to be the hero, but they became the conflict. And you? You rose anyway. You outgrew the storyline. You stopped waiting for closure. You created a new plot, one where you are the main character, the director, and the author. And what happens to the people who were only meant to teach you a lesson? They fade. They disappear from the narrative. They lose the right to have a say in the ending. That's the real ending. Not the one where they come back and say sorry. Not the one where you get to say, "I told you so." The real ending is when you no longer care if the chapter is open or closed, because you're already on the next one. You're already in a place they can't reach, a space they can't understand. And now, they see it. You write different now. You walk different now. You live different now. Because the story is no longer about pain. It's about power. No longer about loss. It's about liberation. Comment below if you've ever outgrown a story you used to cry over. They were a plot twist, but I was the story. And here's the best part. They can't read you anymore. Because you no longer write for them. You turn the page. You close the book. And now you're writing a masterpiece they don't get to be part of. And trust me, that is the ending they never expected. And the one they'll never recover from. Closing message. Claim your power. Now take a breath and say it with me. I don't chase, I don't beg, I disappear, not out of pettiness, but out of peace, not to punish them, but to protect you. You see, walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you realize your energy is sacred, your time is limited, and your self-worth is not up for negotiation. They expected you to make noise, but you chose stillness. They expected drama, but you chose direction. They expected the same old you, but you chose to become someone they can no longer predict, control, or reach. That's real power, because in the silence they left you with, you built a new voice. A stronger voice, one that doesn't scream to be heard, but speaks through presence, through purpose, through progress. And maybe they never hear from you again. Maybe they never get closure, but they will feel the absence every single day. And while they linger in the past, trying to reassemble the old you in their mind, you're already becoming someone so evolved, so elevated, they wouldn't recognize you if they tried. So stop waiting for their apology. Stop waiting for their clarity. Stop waiting for them to understand. You understand now. You understand that some people weren't sent to stay. They were sent to wake you up. And now that you're awake, you never go back to sleep. Write it in the comments below. I don't chase, I rise. Let others feel your strength. Let your story echo in someone who needs to hear it today. If this message found you at the right moment, hit that like button to let it land. Subscribe to the channel if you're done playing small, done explaining yourself, and done giving your energy to the wrong people. This isn't about revenge. This is your rebirth. And what's coming next? They won't just be unprepared. They'll be irrelevant. Stay strong. Stay silent. Stay rising. We'll see you in the next chapter.